In this video, I'm going to describe and demonstrate the functionalities of my application that simulates the operation of a smart medical environment. So let's have a look at the three services and their corresponding protofiles. Let's begin with the IDREC service, which is a service for identification and registration of hospital outpatients. This service consists of three RPC methods: check, identify, and register. So first, method check is a unary type of RPC. This method is used to actually check if the outpatient is registered or not with the hospital. If we check the check request and check response structure, we see that check request consists of three fields: name, surname, and birth date. And check response only contains two fields: message and ID. So in case the patient is already registered with the hospital, we get a response from the server, a single response from the server informing us about this, and we get the actual ID of the patient. In case the patient is not yet registered with the hospital, we get again the message from the server informing us about this, and we get the ID -1 to indicate the lack of record in the database. So the second RPC of this service is called identify. This method only actually gets invoked if we get positive ID from the previous RPC response, and then this message is of server streaming type. So if we again check the identify request and identify response structure, we see identify request only contains one field, ID, which is sent to the server, and then client receives a stream of messages from the server containing information about department and visit dates. The third RPC of this service is called register, and this is again a unary type of RPC. This method is used to register the service if it's not registered just yet with the hospital. So we send out all the details about the patient, and we get back message or confirmation from the server that the patient was successfully registered. Second service is this service deals with the this service provides a way of monitoring the heartbeat cycle of patients admitted to the intensive care unit. So basically each heartbeat cycle contains of two intervals, which is systolic and diastolic interval. Using this service, these intervals are being sent to the server in form of a stream, and then evaluated on the server side, and server sends back a single response. So this is a client streaming type of RPC. And if we check the structure of the messages, so these are the two values, the two time intervals I was talking about earlier, and then we receive a message either or all values are within the normal range, or we critical values have been reached, and also we get these values back from the server. The third service assumes the use of wearable devices such as watches or necklaces, and this service is meant to be used by people with higher risk of cardiovascular event. So this service contains of two methods. The first method is called pulse check method, and it is bidirectional type of RPC. And what it does is actually sending out a stream of pulse check requests, which pulse check request contains only one field, pulse. So this is the value of the heart rate of the patient or person wearing the device, and we get back Oh, actually, we get the information about the activity level also from the client, and then we get a stream of messages from the server. These messages contain information about the risk level or cardiac risk level, and again the pulse. Second RPC used by this service is unary type of RPC, and it's called emergency call. This can be used in case of emergencies, and it simply sends information about the location in form of latitude and longitude, and it receives a single message as a confirmation that the location was received. So let me demonstrate the functionality of my first service, which is a service for patient identification and registration. I've already typed in some values, so let's hit the check button. So after hitting check button, we get a response from the server which says the patient wasn't found, please register. At this point we can register this patient by simply hitting the register button, and we get a message from the server that the patient was successfully registered. So let's just try to type in something else. So in the case that a patient is already registered with the database, we get a different response from the server. So the patient Lisa Smith was found, and we get a stream of messages. And this is the information about the department visited by this person and the date of this visit. Okay, so this GUI also has input validation. So if we leave the input blank and hit the check button, we get the exception and message which is asking us to provide the first name. The same applies for second name, and then we also have a birth of date validation. So if we, for example, try to provide the date in a different format like this, we also get a exception message and information about a correct date format. This is a service for heartbeat cycle monitoring. So let's try it out and hit the monitor button. We are seeing the values streaming from the client. These values are representing the different time intervals of a heartbeat. Now we can see in our console, server already sent the message, sent the warning, critical values reached. And this happened in our GUI just after all the messages from the client were sent. So this is something I was trying to tackle. I was trying to redirect the output from the console to the GUI, but unfortunately I wasn't successful. But apart from that, everything is working as expected. You see, after reaching the values which were evaluated as critical by the server, we get the message critical values reached from the server. This is a service for cardiovascular event risk detection. We can choose activity level as normal or exercise. Let's just leave it as normal for now and hit the risk detect button. Now we see the messages from the client streaming. And in our console, we also see the responses from the server. So this GUI has the same issue as the previous one, and only displaying the messages after all the messages from the client are sent. Apart from that, everything is working correctly. We also have another option here, which is emergency, this emergency button. So after hitting the emergency button, unary RPC is invoked and will send a location, and we get this message from the server, single message from the server saying that the emergency call was received and the location, latitude and longitude is this.